লাইট যে কাছে খালি চোখে দেখা যায় না, ক্যামেরা ঠিকই দেখা যায়।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear students, I hope you all are well. I am with you with the second part of my lecture on prefixes and suffixes. In my last lectures, I told you about the prefixes and suffixes, what is their origin and what are the techniques to use them in a sentence. If you can remember that I told you four things, that means the 8 parts of speech, they are divided into 2 parts. 4 parts of speech is vulnerable parts of speech and another 4 is invulnerable parts of speech, meaning I told you that only nouns, verbs, adverbs and adjectives can take prefixes and suffixes before or after it, but the another 4 parts of speech, pronoun, prepositions, conjunctions and interjections, they are invulnerable parts of speech. They cannot take before or after it any prefixes and suffixes, any particles or affixes it cannot take. And then I told you yesterday in my last class that just 2 techniques, that if I add any prefixes and suffixes before or after a words, it happens only 2 things. Number 1, whether it will change its parts of speech or it will make an opposite word, that means it will make an antonym of the particular words. So today I am going to give you some examples about it, but before going to the examples, just sometimes you have some students, they say, sir, if I know the particles, then it will be easy for us to use, but I don't think so. But for your practice, just I am going to write some prefixes and suffixes here. So this type of particles, a, nt, this, we should not tell this, we should tell dis, then un, then il, then in, then ear, then non, im, miss, sub, then we can use in, ex, extra, peri, super, trans. So dear students, or you can write down this type of, we have hundreds of particles in our books available if you read. So dear students, these are the one types of particles I told in my last class. That means this may be used, this type of particles generally used before a words, then as a result they are used as prefixes in a words, in a sentences. But again I am going to read some is, these particles are used as suffixes, ance, ancy, dom, ety, tion, sion, or, then we can use ee, we have hood, you can use ism, mend, nest, sheep, ed, en, full, ish, ish, some, only y, wise, full, less, etc. So dear students, just for your understanding, I have written here some particles. These particles generally used before a words, and these particles generally used after a words. As a result, these particles are called prefixes and these particles are called suffixes. So dear students, so what will be our duty? So if you select some particles from your books, just I have written here, for example, this type of hundreds of particles you will get in the books. If you open your grammar books, then you will choose some particles like this, and then you will try to make some words by using that particular particles, such as will try to use before some words away, awake. You can end this, you can use dishonest. Then this type of subordinator, extracurricular, prepositions. But again, when you will practice on the this type of particles who is generally used after words, then if you use dom after free, then it will be freedom. So just I have given you these techniques, then you will try to use at home, and then you can understand. Now I am going to show you some slides on prefixes and suffixes. We will try to understand, and in my last classes I will show you the techniques. I told you that how the technique may be used, but today I should tell you that you must have to know the uses of 4 parts of speech. I told you about nouns, adjectives, verbs and adverbs. When I took some classes on clause test with and without clues, I told you the places of the parts of that particular parts of speech in a sentence. If you can remember, just here I am giving you the keys, and you will study it at home. We know noun has 5 positions in a sentence. Only in 5 places a noun can be used. Only in 3 positions or 4 positions of an adjectives. Adverb can be used in 6 positions in a sentence, and verb, you know, verb is the main thing of a sentence. Without verb, a sentence is not possible. You know it. So you must have to take this in your head, that you must have to, so that you can identify the place of nouns, verbs, adverbs and adjective in a sentence. That if you can understand, if you can find out the places of that 4 parts of speech, then if you use 2 techniques, I told you, the whether the word may be changed its parts of speech or it will be changed into an opposite word. Then these 2 techniques, just I am going to show you some slides. So here, if you see that in the pictures, the man looks unhappy. Okay, but the root word was happy. So, but this man looks unhappy, because how I have understood that the why I have used here unhappy, because the sentence is telling me that this place is for an adjective and the word is also adjective. So then I have understood that, oh yes, I must have to use the opposite word. I cannot change the parts of speech here. So just I am giving you so the word happy is a rude word, but the place of this, according to the uses of parts of speech, this place is fixed for an adjective, but the word is also an adjective. So how I can understand? Then I have understood, oh yes, I cannot change the parts of speech, just I have to use the opposite word. Then as a student I will not write here happiness or happily. Now I have understood that the parts of speech is an adjective, so I have to use an opposite word. So then I can understand, oh yes, in place of happy I have to write unhappy, because I am bound to use particles before or after it, because my item is that I must have to use any particles before or after, or both before and after the words. So like that, if I go to, so what is it, happy, happily. So then in another sentences, if I make it adverb, then I will use happily. Acha. So dear student, this is able and this is able. They both are rude words, you know. But what we are going to do here, this becomes an opposite word, unable. Again, added before. If I want to change the parts of speech, then it will be ability and it will be added suffixes. So I told you about it. We should not waste our time here. Just if you would like to know the definition, the letter or letters added before any word or changes its meaning is called prefixes. And if you just for your understanding, letter or letters added after any word and change its form is called suffixes. I told you in my first lecture about it. Just today, just if you would like to show some differences. So what is the differences? Prefix is added before a word and changes its meaning. Suffix is added after a word and changes its meaning. We know it. We will not lose our time here. So examples of some prefixes and in etc. Example of suffixes I told you sometimes before. Prefixes added directly before the word, and suffixes if the last letter of the word is, it, is omitted while adding suffixes. So dear students, you know that when we will add some suffixes after any words, then some letters may be omitted. That when we will practice it, then we can understand. So dear students, now in this position I would like to ask you, please, it's here, what is my techniques, what I am going to give you the keys and techniques. Like this, he has no to buy a car. So dear students, what is my motto, what is my target? You know, my target is to give you some techniques. So what the techniques? If I consider this sentence, so he has no to buy a car. So here no is an adjective, you know. So after the adjective, the position is for a noun. So as this position is for a noun, so there is a word here in the bracket, but the word is an adjective. So here is my technique. This I want to tell you, this technique, if you can understand the techniques, then it will be easy for you. So able is an adjective, but I know this place is fixed for a noun. So then I can easily understand, oh yes, so I must have to write the noun of the word. So what is the noun of the word able? I know the word is ability. So then I have no need as a student to understand the IN, EL or DOM, FREE, X in this way. If you can understand, if you memorize all these prefixes and suffixes, it will not help you not a single to help you to answer correctly. But if you understand my techniques, that what is the techniques? So in these gaps, the gaps is this place is for a noun, but in bracket the word is adjective. So then I will understand, oh yes, I have to use ability here. So that just if you see, so then just I have changed the word, it was an adjective, just I have changed it into a noun, then my answer will automatically be correct. Whether I am going to use prefix or suffixes or both prefixes and suffixes, that's not the matter. Just if you consider the place and if you fix the place and if you change the word like that, then your answer will automatically correct. So if I go to the next, so it is another sentence. So my technique, just I am going to give you the keys. Mother Teresa was rewarded for her dash. So dear students, so what is this? Here is an possessive, and we know after the possessive this place fixed for a noun. So I have understood easily. So noun, so here you have human. So then if I just make a noun, oh again you may consider, sir, this human is also a noun here. So what will happen? So this sentence, we know there we have an substantial noun here, but this is personal noun. So I will change the word in the noun humanity. So again in this way we can just, if you see a sentence here, the two word here, just I have to remove it. So the dash of his performance. So the dash of his performance. So we know after the so this place is fixed for a noun. We can understand it, of his performance is really. So if there is a be verb, so after it this place is fixed for an adjective. So these techniques will help you to write your answer very successfully. So I know this place is fixed for noun. So what is the noun of perfect? And this place is fixed for an adjective. So then you have to understand what is the adjective form of wonder. So what is the noun form of perfection? If you can understand the perfection of his performance, that means the noun form of perfect is perfection. Again, if we show the adjective form of the word wonder is wonderful, then my answer will automatically be correct. So these techniques just you have to use. Again another. So this type of examples, if I give you hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of examples, the same techniques will be used. Just two techniques if you use, it will be enough for you. So our parents always dash us to put on this dress. So our parents always. So dear students, how interesting it is. So this is our parents, this is the subject, and this is an objective form. So there is no verb here. So dear student, so then I can easily understand, oh yes, I have to use the verb of this word caress. So what is the verb of this word caress? You can easily find the answer. As we are the student of 9 and 10, we know. So in caress. So just I change this word into verb, then my answer will automatically be correct. So if I go further, so again another sentence I have written here, what a beautiful dash he displayed. So what a beautiful, so how technique it is. So what a beautiful. So beautiful is an adjective. So after the adjective, this place is fixed for a noun. So I have to use the noun form of perform. So if I know the noun form of perform, then we can easily understand, oh yes, so what is the noun form of perform? Performance. Then my answer will automatically be correct. How much time I have lost, I know still. So dear students, so just in my today's lectures, what I have tried, I have tried to prove that I gave you just 2 techniques, and I have tried my best to prove my techniques whether they are originally fruitful or not. So what is my techniques? My techniques is that in the blanks I will try to understand, I will try to fix the place of parts of speech in the blanks. If I can identify the parts of speech, if I can say in the blanks the place is for nouns, but in the bracket the words is in an adjective form, then my target, my task will be just change the word, just turn the word into the noun. But if I can see that in the blanks the place is fixed for an adjective, but in the bracket the words is also an adjective, so what will happen? I cannot change the parts of speech. Then what will happen? Then my technique is that just I will use an opposite word of the words given in the bracket. So these 2 techniques, if I can understand these 2 techniques only, then without memorizing the hundreds and thousands of particles, affixes in the books, without memorizing them, I can fill in the blanks very successfully. Just in my 3rd lectures, in my next part, I will show you some context. That means the questions of SSC exam, what comes generally in the exams, and I will try to again I will try my best to prove you that these techniques will help you to take a better preparation for the exam. So thank you very much. So dear students, if you have understood my lectures, my techniques, if you be as little benefited by listening my lectures, I will think that my labor will be in full. So thank you very much. So dear student, stay home but continue your study, be safe. I would like to give you a salam again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Allah Hafiz.